Hello everyone, and welcome to the bonus episode of Survivor. I know you're probably wondering why this video is obviously set up differently than the other videos, and that's because I may or may not have lost the footage where I originally found and read all the pearls before starting the next campaign. I must have deleted it without backing it up, or at the very least I can't find the backup. So here's how this video is gonna go. First, I'm going to do a little bit of a lore recap and fix up some incorrect things that Odie had said during my Survivor finale. Just for fun, I feel like that'd make things easier for you guys to digest. Though this is not a Rain World lore video, this is mostly me reading the pearls. On the top right corner of the screen, you'll see little citations saying where I actually got this information from, and then later on in the video, after all that, we'll actually get to the pearl readings, and you'll get to see how I even got those on my new rerun of trying to get those pearls. Those I will try to put chronologically in the order they appear in the citations in the lore segment, but some of them don't exactly fit into the lore, and those will be put afterwards. The only ones that's going to be a little bit weird are Sky Islands, which technically has randomized text that you can get for the 2 pearls that are there, but there's actually 5 different ones that you can get from. So I'm going to be reading those to you afterwards. However, I only went and collected the 2 as I do not have Downpour on. After each of the pearls, I will try to go more in depth if I'm able to go more in depth. That is about why I got what I did from the pearl. Unless it's like, hey, because of this happened, and then the pearl literally says, oh, yeah, so-and-so did that to so-and-so, then I don't really have to explain myself in that case. Besides from that, there will be only a couple other things that are not pearl-related in this video. Please do not take this as factual and as the lore for Rain World. Again, I want to make it clear this is not a lore video. This is my interpretation. The lore is very up to interpretation. Some of this mixes with my friend's interpretation from the Survivor finale that some of you, if you watched it at the very least, should have listened to. And of course, none of this takes from any other campaigns, including either DLCs, Monk or Hunter, none of that. This is just for Survivor, and so you have context for why I bring up certain things in the next campaign. I just don't want you guys to be confused is all. With that being out of the way, let's start off with the... In Rain World, every living being is trapped in a cycle. The cycle makes it so when something dies, it does not die forever. When something dies, it will leave behind a karma flower and wake up as if it was nothing but a dream. It is born, it lives, it dies, and it is reborn. Nothing is truly gone forever. The ancestors of the Benefactors, a civilization that would later build the Iterators, were very aware that they are trapped in the cycle, and they wanted to seek a way to escape it. They believed that everything is trapped in the cycle because of what is now called the 5 natural urges. These urges being violence, lust, companionship, gluttony, and survival. They believed if they found a way to rid themselves of these urges, they would be freed from the cycle. This included doing things like only drinking tea and eating gravel. They tried to be effortless, for the more that you try, the more you are trapped into the cycle. Despite this, they have documented their day-to-day lives, debated amongst themselves, made poems, and created art anyways. They still aim to be ambitious, and were spiritualist species overall, who used many honorifics and titles and wore golden masks to express themselves. At some point during their lives, they dug down into the earth and discovered where an old civilization, which we will call the Ancients, built their temples long ago alongside something known as the Void Sea. The Void Sea is full of void fluid, which is a substance that dissolves all matter, including living things. The Benefactors found this to be a better way to ascend and escape the cycle, if only slightly improving from starving yourself and ridding yourself of all the natural urges. It is still not perfect, however, as when one tries to ascend via the void fluid, but they had a big enough ego, they might not ascend at all, instead turning into an echo that lingers somewhere not quite in the cycle, but not quite free from it either. If you don't mind me going on a little bit of a tangent, much of the fandom, alongside myself at first and throughout most of my playthrough, would joke and believe that the Benefactors are suicidal in a way in their search to escape the cycle, as it, to most people, might seem as a way to just die permanently. If the Benefactors were suicidal, then they wouldn't have clearly enjoyed living the world that they lived in, despite the cycle. Yes, they wanted to move past the cycle, but it's like, you do all you want in this world, you have a great time, but sometimes you need to let go and move on. For example, let me bring up Minecraft. You can make a server with some friends, and you can play around, build some buildings, do a raid, go to the nether, go to the end, defeat the dragon. But at some point, you guys might get tired, and at some point some people may not log on again, because maybe y'all have moved on to a different game. Some might still come back and try to keep the server alive or finish a build they never got to finish, and that could be like the Echoes in this case. There's something they're not ready to let go of, and that's okay. They love the world, of course, but you can love something and want to move on to other things. And they also wanted to give this choice to all the creatures in the world. While I can still understand the ascension to suicide angle, I personally disagree with it. Now there's probably smarter ways to put this, but the Benefactor situation is more so like they currently have a job and they love doing their job, but they have the option to go to a different job that they might like more than their current one. They can go if they're ready to take the job offer, but they don't have to. If the situation was different and this was their last resort, in that case, Ascension would be suicide adjacent. Going back on topic, they did find another use for the Void Fluid, and used it for technological advancements, resulting in the eventual creation of the Iterators, some generations later. The Iterators are giant and somewhat biomechanical superstructures that tower above the clouds. While serving many different purposes for the Benefactors, they were mainly created to find a solution to the cycle for all creatures. One that doesn't rely on shedding the natural urges or dipping yourself into some void fluid and hope you're allowed to be crossed out. A solution for everything. Everything but themselves, created not to even think about ascending. The Iterators take up much water to function, mostly to help reduce the buildup of slag. As more and more Iterators were created, the surface started to become uninhabitable due to the constant downpours brought by their water intake and their outtake, so they moved to live on top of their structures. Soon enough, where an Iterator could be placed wasn't highly specific to how much it could consume, because the previous Iterators breathing up almost as much as they take in at this point, there was water everywhere. They didn't need to be so spaced out because there was enough for all of them. Lux to the Moon is implied to be an old Iterator. Personally, I like to believe she is one from the first generation of them to be built alongside Sliver of Straw. We'll get to her soon. She had to have existed before there was water everywhere because of the amount of them. At some point, 5 Pebbles is also built, connected to her via a bridge. Some thought it was a bad idea to build them too close to her, but there was enough water for the both of them at this point, so he was created. Despite the many problems people had with the construction of 5 Pebbles, life went on. Until one day, all the Benefactors were gone in a mass ascension. We aren't sure what caused this, just that one day they all ascended and there was no one left. No one but the Iterators and whatever can survive the surface. It's not clear how long the gap is between the Benefactors leaving the world behind and the next upcoming events, but at some point, Sliver of Straw broadcasts the triple affirmative. At the same time, she's also confirmed to be incapacitated, or dead. No one knows what happened, and everyone had their own theories, but no one can know for certain. After this, they formed different factions, which I'm not going to put the names to, as I keep mixing them up, so I'm not going to even risk that. But there are those who think we should find the solution without directly solving it, because it was dangerous. There are those who wish to try and recreate what she had done. Some thought dying might have also been the solution. While no one really knows for certain, the Iterators eventually got back to work. 5 Pebbles in particular was not happy with the situation, and contacts an Iterator named 7 Red Suns, who is either a friend of his or some sort of mentor figure, not someone that seems to be in his local group at the very least. He doesn't understand why they keep working towards a solution when they'll all just die eventually, and even then it wouldn't be forever, and he's frustrated. Some cycles later, an Iterator under the name of Erratic Pulse is found in a Sliverous group, talking about crossing themselves out, or in other words, seeking personal ascension. Chasing Wynn, an Iterator in the local group led by Lux to the Moon, who is dubbed Big Sis Moon instead, with fellow Iterators no significant harassment, 5 Pebbles, and possibly unparalleled innocence, tells them about this erratic pulse they heard about. Moon, being the group's senior, says she would try to contact them if she's able. It's very clear to me that Erratic Pulse is actually 5 Pebbles, now tired of trying to find the solution the Benefactors wanted, and just wants a solution for himself. Pebbles then receives a pearl that we can later find in Chimney Canopy, with contents of breaking taboos, something that would allow him a way around not being able to even try and ascend for himself, something that would solve his problem. I remember theorizing at the time that it came from 7 red suns, as they were the last one that we know of to talk to him, and it was about his frustrations in the first place. Perhaps they had thought it would help him, who knows. As I don't exactly have any more evidence for this claim, do not take this as a fact though. 5 Pebbles' water intake skyrockets soon after this, and any attempts to communicate him are met with silence. Moon alerts the local group about the lack of water intake and that everyone should keep trying to contact him until he responds to lower his water intake. Otherwise, she will collapse and she will die. She has the ability to force him to communicate, being both the group's senior and directly connected to him. However, she says that she will only use it if things get more dire. However, it's only 6 cycles later before she decides it's the only thing she can do, and she forces communications. It's many, many cycles later when Chasing Wind contacts 7 red suns about 5 Pebbles. No one has been able to contact him in a while, but a neighbor of his, Unparalleled Innocence, has sent pictures of the inside of his structure. He had developed the rot, the blue cyst that we see in his structure. A cancer, if you will. Most definitely created when Moon had forced communications with him. After all, the rewrite has to be specific, without any distractions. She couldn't have known what he was doing, of course. No one could. He didn't tell anyone what was happening. Suns promises to try and contact 5 Pebbles and asks if Moon knows about his situation, but it seems that Moon has also been unavailable for some time now. It's either around this conversation or sometime after this conversation in which she collapses into the shoreline with little of her left remaining. Pebbles' rot spreads more throughout his structure, even with his attempts to rid of the mobile cysts found in the garbage wastes now, which we didn't actually find when I was playing for the first time. I do actually have a clip from when I was pearl hunting, separate from the footage I did lose for this video originally, of which I see them for the first time, and I was very, very confused and scared. What the heck? What's on there? Hello? Huh? Excuse me? What? What the heck? What the heck? What the heck? This brings us to where we start the game, the Survivor. Their story doesn't continue in the campaign, though we can talk to Moon, even bring her a neuron from Pebbles. She's very low after all, and he is plenty. It's a miracle that her puppet is still functional at all, and that any neuron survived, but she's alive for better or for worse. Most importantly, she can read us the pearls, where I got most of this information from. So, without any further ado, let us go on to the...
Its entire memory is filled with a mantra repeated 5,061 times, and then a termination verse. It was worn as an amulet, probably together with many identical others forming some pattern on some garment. The repeating mantra is important because it symbolizes the cynical nature of life and death. The termination verse is a symbol of ascension above and beyond it. I don't know how familiar you are with the nature of life and death, but I imagine, like all living creatures, you have some intuitive knowledge. Then you should know that death isn't the end. Birth and death are connected to each other like a ring, or some say a spiral. Some say a spiral that in turn forms a ring. Some ramble on in agonizing longevity, but the basis is agreed upon. Like sleep, like death. You wake up again whether you want to or not. This is true for all living things, but some actually break the cycle. That doesn't apply to you or me, though. You are too entangled in your animal struggles, and for me, not breaking that cycle is an integral part of the design. Our mantras keep repeating. This is an hallucinogenic plant. They used to call it the wheel flower. It became a symbol of enlightenment, as it momentarily enables a creature to let go of its carnal self and to contact the selves of other planes, dreams, memories, imagined worlds. Very long ago, they would eat these and stare into the fire. It's a production record of a mask factory for what seems to be its last time in service. Have you seen a bone mask? Likely not. They are all gone with their owners. In ancient times, the masks were actually about showing spiritual persuasion, covering the face as a way to symbolically abate the self. Then, of course, that was quite subverted as excessively ornate and lavish masks became an expression of identity. Some public persons did have problems with narrow doorways. Originally, monks in a temple would make the masks using bone plaster, and when the production was automated, it would generally remain on the same site, so that the old stones could radiate the material with holiness, I suppose. This is from one such facility called the Site House, which was here on Pebbles ground. In the Iterator project, many old industrial religious sites like this were remodeled and incorporated. I think this one was made to provide pellets of holy ash to Pebbles, but knowing him, he probably hasn't used much of it. This information is illegal. Someone probably tried to send it via Pearl somehow rather than risking it being overheard on broadcast. I think the risk of you acting on this is very slim, so I'll go ahead and explain it to you. It's an instruction on how to circumvent the self-destruction taboo. The problem with breaking taboos is that the barriers are encoded into every cell of our organic parts, and there are other taboos strictly regulating our ability to rewrite our own genome. So what you need to do is somehow create a small sample of living organic matter which can procreate and act on the rest of your organic matter to rewrite its genome. The rewrites have to be very specific, overriding the specific taboo you want to circumvent, but do nothing else. The method described here is about scrambling the genome of standard plastic neural tissue with temperature fluctuations. After each scramble, you browse the resulting cells for a genome you're after. This is, of course, extremely time-consuming unless you run a big number of parallel processes. I definitely don't have any experience with this, but to me it would seem that too many parallel processes would be quite dangerous, as it would be exponentially more difficult to manage and control them all. The whole operation seems rather risky if you ask me. It might be a good thing that this pearl never reached its destination. This one has plain text. Let me cut the lengthy introductions. We will not consider the current situation acceptable. Although our community is blessed with an ever-shrinking population and we can almost glimpse the glorious moment when the last of us has joined our most admired peers, we must still at all times maintain good relations with our iterator. The moral argument. 5 Pebbles is our creation, and we have parental obligations towards him. As an iterator, he is also a gift of charity from us to the world, unable to reach enlightenment by itself, being composed mostly of rock, gas, dull-blooded bugs, and microbes, and towards which we thus have obligations. The practical argument. Despite you being friendly, I must beg forgiveness for the blunt vulgarity, but we are, for as long as we remain, dependent on 5 Pebbles for water, nectar, energy, void fluid, and all other vital resources. By now, living on the surface is laughable. We are across the river and have kicked the boat. I therefore ask that you do anything in your might to stop the house, we both know which house, from further obstruction. They have less than 40 members on the council, but they still tilt the spiritual discourse with our iterator in a direction that most obviously displeases him, and is hardly high-held by anyone in the community either. We cannot risk this. And then there are polite farewells. None of us really missed the times when their cities were populated. Imagine having skin parasites that also ask for advice and have opinions. I'm sorry. That was disrespectful. They are our parents after all. This one illustrated by 5 Pebbles when he was young. There has been an attempt to scramble the data, but it's sloppily done and most of it is still somewhat legible. It's written in internal language or thoughts, so it's hard for me to translate so you would understand. It's a mythology for the global ascension, of course. Quite good, although the perhifgulist or the slab-mongulist certainly wouldn't agree. Considering the 8th and the 26th amendments of the Capricornus Dogma, we are apparently supposed to take for granted that meaning collector point inversion is the only way to approach what has later become referred to as noise milking or occasionally rock swatting. I will argue my disagreement with this not in regards to kind, but in regards to, could it say, volume? Actually, are you getting anything from this? I suppose you found this in the waste department? I would be wary of going there. On his first fit of corruption, he dumped a lot of the infected material there, and if it had survived, it could easily eat a creature like you. Not that it would be as dangerous as going into Pebbles himself. Also, the pearls in the waste masses inevitably attract scavengers, which can be very dangerous when provoked. But you seem to have made it out of there. Interesting. This one is written by me. It's about an iterator called Sliver of Straw. I don't remember when I wrote it. Do you know Sliver of Straw? She's quite legendary among us. Sliver of Straw is the only one to ever broadcast a specific signal, that the big problem we're all been working towards has been solved. The triple affirmative. Affirmative that a solution has been found, affirmative that a solution is portable, and affirmative that a technical implementation is possible and generally applicable. She's also one of the few that has ever been confirmed as exhaustively incapacitated or dead. You do not die easily. this, and the ensuing commotion was historically unparalleled, before or after. I still remember it, but nothing happened, except that Sliver's straw was apparently dead. When the dust settled, we were all still blinking at each other. Everyone had a theory. Some said that she did have a solution, but the solution itself was somehow dangerous. These later became known as the triangulators, who think a solution should be infirmed without being directly discovered. Some said that she never had a solution, she just died, and when the system broke down, an erroneous signal was sent. One camp claimed that dying was the solution. Either way, after that, these different factions developed, as well as a huge forensic effort to recreate and simulate Sliverstraw's last moments. Some of the simulations were wrapped in simulation in case something dangerous might happen. Nothing much has come from it. In my essay, I make the case that she should be allowed to rest in peace now. It's about a local aquifer. It must be quite old, from when 5 Pebbles was in the planning phase. Water is the most important resource for our basic function. Most of our processing is outsourced to microstrata, which need a flow of green water or else slag builds up. Our process ceases and we eventually die. It is very painful. They used to say an iterator drinks a river, but neither of us two have seen a natural river, so I suppose the analogy is lost on us, little creature. Sure. Originally, water supply was very important when placing iterators. Later, there would be a great equalizer. The fact that we breathe out as much vapor as we inhale water led to there being water available everywhere, and the latest food generations could be placed almost completely freely. Building Pebbles so close to me was believed to be a risky choice, but the groundwater was finally deemed as sufficient. It was not a good decision in hindsight. Oh, this one is interesting. You must have found it in the memory crypts. It has some plain text. I can read it to you. In this vessel is the living memories of 17-axis, 15-spoked wheel of the House of Braids, Count of 8 living blocks, Counselor of 16, Grandmaster of the 12th Pitter of Community, High Commander of Opinion Group Winged Opinions, of Pure Braid Heritage, voted local champion of the speaking tournament of 1511.090, Mother, Father, and Spouse, Spiritual Explorer and Honorary Member of the Congregation of Balanced Ambiguity, Artist, Warrior, and Fashion Legend. 17-axis, 15-spoked wheel nobly decided to ascend in the beginning of 1514-08 after graciously donating all earthly possessions to the local iterator project Unparalleled Innocence and left these memories to be cherished in the carnal plane. The assorted memories in the qualia include watching dust suspend an array of sun, old age, eating a very tasty meal, young child, defeating an opponent in a debate contest and being applauded by the fellow team members, late childhood, early adulthood. And the list goes on. I'm sorry, little creature, I won't read all of this. The list is 620 items long. It's an old text. The verses are familiar to me, but I don't remember by whom they were written. The language is very old and intricate. The first verse starts by drawing a comparison between the world and the tangled rock. It says that the world is an unfortunate mess. Like a knot, the nature of existence is the fact that the parts are locking each other, not able to spring free. And then as the word goes on, it becomes a furry animal hide, I suppose, because now us living beings are like insects crawling in the fur. And then it's a fishing net, because the more we struggle and squirm, the more entangled we become. It says that only the limp body of the jellyfish cannot be captured in the net, so we must try to be like the jellyfish, because the jellyfish doesn't try. This was an eternal dilemma to them. They were burdened by great ambitions, yet deeply convinced that striving in itself was an unforgivable vice. They tried very hard to be effortless, perhaps just as we were to them, someone to delegate that unrestrained effort to. I know I have tried very hard. This one is an old conversation between 5 Pebbles and a friend of his. I'll read it to you. 1591-290, private.
Can I tell you something? Lately, I'm tired of trying and angry that they left us here. The anger makes me even less inclined to solve their puzzle for them. Why do we do this? Yes, I'll spell it out for you. Not because you're stupid or naive. Not saying you're not. Please, I'm coming to you for guidance. Sorry, very sorry, I kid. Fact is, of course we are all aware of the evident futility of the big task. It's not said out loud, but if you're better at reading in between the lines, just know where you wouldn't see it. We're all frustrated. So why do we continue? We assemble work groups, we ponder, we iterate and try. Some of us die. It's not fair. Because there's not any options. What else can we do? You're stuck in your can, and at any moment you have no more than two alternatives. Do nothing or work like you're supposed to. An analogy. You have a maze and you have a handful of bugs. You put the bugs in a maze and you leave. Given an infinite amount of time, one of the bugs will find a way out. If they just erratically try and try. That's why they call us iterators. But we do die of old age. Even more incentive. You know that nothing ever truly dies, though. Round it goes. Granted, our tools and resources get worse over time, but that is theoretically unproblematic, because in time, even a minuscule chance will strike a positive. All the same to them, they're not around anymore. I struggle to accept being a bug.
It's an old conversation log. I seem to be in it, but I can't recall much. Let me read it to you. 1650-800. Private. 5 Pebbles chasing me. Big Sis Moon knows the gimmick harassment. This is just in confidence, but apparently a pseudonym Red Pulse has appeared on a nearby Sliver's conversation with ideas of personal ascension. Someone here in our vicinity is trying to cross themselves out.
Where did you hear of this?
I wish them super good luck in that endeavor. How's it gonna happen? Have the overseers know their bedrock until their entire can crushes down into the void sea?
Please be respectful when speaking with the Void Sea. Greywind, where did you hear of this?
I really shouldn't say. He's going to attempt some sort of reading program I thought you might want to know.
With the slivers, lizards, and etc.? Surely the answer was in a lizard skull all along.
Well, he's not looking for the same as we anymore. He's changed his task, so who knows really.
I will try to find him and talk to him. Please don't spread this around.
I'll go get him. Long live the Inquisition.
Oh, this one is all plain text. It's an excerpt from an iterated conversation group. 1615-787. Closed group, Sliver of Ocean. Sliver of Ocean group, all participants anonymous.
Ha! I wouldn't necessarily disagree.
Sliver of Straw was a traitor to the cause. Sliver of Straw broke the self-destruction taboo.
How'd this idiot get in here? Kick them out.
I think they had a point.
Really? Elaborate.
It was definitely coming from an idiotic state of mind, but there is something to it. Why is it that even in a closed Slivers group, the self-destruction taboo is held so high, while Sliver Straw herself, evidently, is not among us anymore? Wait now. I'm just saying that for all the research we are doing, all the theories we have, it's strange that we leave this path untrod. It is not a new idea, but it needs to be vented occasionally. What if there is no universal solution? What if perception is in fact existence? And when Sliver Straw sent out triple positive, it was not a mistake? What if crossing oneself out, or even just death, is the way? We need to consider this possibility.
It's me writing to the local integrator group. I have no memories of this. 1654, 110. Public. Big Sis Moon to local group. 2 cycles ago, my neighbor 5 Pebbles drastically increased his water consumption to 4 times the normal amount. He has been unresponsive for a period of time longer than that. The two of us share groundwater, and I have been without water for almost a cycle. Any attempts at communication have been met with complete silence, and my situation is becoming increasingly dangerous. I asked the local group for information about when you were last able to contact him, and to try to use those communication channels again, repeatedly, until you get a response. I will be clear on this. If he is not persuaded to stop whatever it is he is doing, I will die. Before that happens, I will utilize my seniority privilege and use forced communication, hoping to shake him out of it. Forced communications in the network will be unpleasant for all, and I will wait as long as possible before I turn to that option. And now here I am, to my waist in water, and getting drowned on the regular. I remember this. It isn't a pleasant reading, but if you must hear it, then this is what it says. 1654, 116, private, forced, Big Sis Moon, 5 Pebbles. Immediately lower your groundwater consumption to 1/5 of its current intake. Stop whatever it is you are doing. Please stop! As your local group senior, I order you. As your senior, I plead. Stop!
You could not have chosen a worse moment to disturb me. You have ruined everything.
Please.
I almost had it. I will never forget this.
This one is just plain text. I will read it to you. On regards to the by spiritual splendor eternally graced people of the congregation of never-dwindling righteousness, we wish to congratulate also thankfully this facility on its loyal and relish services, and to offer our hopes and aspirations that the fruitful and mutually satisfactory cooperation may continue for as long as the stars stay fixed in their celestial spheres, and where the cooperation continue to be fruitful and mutually satisfactory. It is with honor, I, 8 sons countless leaves of the house of 6 wagons, count of no living blocks, councillor of 2, duke of 1, humble secretary of the congregation of never dwindling righteousness, write this to you. We hope that the crops are healthy and that the productivity with which your facility is blessed leads, as it often does, to further prosperity. May not, as long as the stars stay fixed in their celestial spheres, gray-haired, impure blood, inheritable corruption, parasites, or malfunctions settle in your establishment. Leaning on the solid foundation of our long-running, fruitful, and mutually satisfactory cooperation, we will take the liberty of stating the reason for this message. We write this warmly to thank you for yet another timely and appreciated delivery of your product, nectar, to our community congregation of never-dwindling righteousness. Our humble words can never aspire to describe our gratitude. Sincerely, and then there are names and titles again. It's a confirmation to an automated farming plot that a shipment of beverages has arrived. It's a small plate, a little text of spiritual guidance. It's written by a monk called 4 Cabinets, 11 Hatches. It's old, several ages before the Void Fluid Revolution. Like most writing from this time, it's quite shrouded in analogies, but the subject is how to shed one of the 5 natural urges which tie a creature to life, namely number 4, gluttony. It is basically an instruction on how to starve yourself on herbal tea and gravel, but disguised as a poem. Now, of course, when void fluid was discovered, these methods proved obsolete, as it was more easy just jumping in a vat of it to effortlessly leave the world behind. There were some horror stories, though, that if your ego was big enough, not even the void fluid could entirely cross you out, and the faint echo of your pompousness would grandiously haunt the premise forever. So even when the void fluid baths came cheaper, some would still starve and drink bitter tea. It's a conversation log, all plain text. You want me to read it? 1688-662. Private. Have you had any contact with 5 Pebbles recently?
Not in a long while, actually, unless worrying about him counts.
One of his neighbors, our parallel innocents, sent an overseer to his camp and got some images. They were made public in the local group in an effort to be mean, I suppose. There's no other way of putting it. He looks awful.
Tell me. He's got the rot, very badly.
Big cysts have become mobile and are scattering down the west and middle legs. He does listen to you and a few others by now, so you should talk to him.
I will try to contact him. Does Moon know?
Moon has been unavailable for some time. It's the blueprint for a void fluid filtration system. Do you know what void fluid is? I think you don't. If you leave a stone on the ground and come back some time later, it's covered in dust. This happens everywhere, and over several lifetimes of creatures such as you, the ground slowly builds upwards. So why doesn't the ground collide with the sky? Because far down, under the very, very old layers of the earth, the rock is being dissolved or removed. The entity which does this is known as the void sea. If you drill far enough into the earth, you begin encountering a substance called void fluid. The deeper you go, the less rock and more void fluid. It's believed that there is a point where the rock completely gives way. Below that would be the void sea. When that stone you placed on the ground has finally done its time in the sediments, it meets the void fluid and dissolves, leaving the physical world. My creator's ancestors, figured out a way to use void fluid, because you can generate energy by creating a vacuum. Never mind. Anyway, the void fluid drills were what started the big technology leap, but this is very long ago before I entered the world, so I can only tell you what I remember from priming. A void fluid filtration system is used because if you take void fluid from close to the bedrock horizon, it will contain traces of rock and dirt. They bring the dirty fluid and then filter it to increase its purity. The other way is to put a pipe deeper, which works well for some time, but the pipe dissolves or is broken by some Of course, no one really knows. You don't go down there and come back up. I hope that satisfied your curiosity, little creature.
And that concludes the end of this video. Now, I know there's some things I skipped over, like I never showed the echo dialogue in here, and I do know I missed the one farmer raise on my Survivor playthrough. I do believe I get to that in Hunter or Gourmand, so don't worry. We'll see that eventually, so don't fret. And I know I didn't go over some smaller things, like whatever the heck these guys are about. I don't know what they're doing in the depths. Obviously they're guarding the Void Sea, but like, what is their purpose? I don't know. But that stuff isn't related, probably, to the whole story or world building of the game, so we are just not going to worry about that for right now. If you came for this video, hey, thanks for watching all the way through. I'm probably not going to do this again. I'm sorry this took like months to make. It was supposed to only take 2 weeks, but I don't make content like this. So this was very exhausting and difficult for me to make. But I'm glad it's finally out, because I can repost Hunter Part 1, which I've had since like 9 months ago. And I can finally post everything I've had, so you'll have like maybe 2 years of content with my schedule. So I hope anyone who came here for this video sticks around for maybe some of those. That'd be pretty cool. If you'd like to support me, I do take commissions. You can just message me on one of my social medias. Discord's probably the easiest for me to check, however. And I also have a Ko-Fi if you want to just leave a tip. If it shows any name that isn't Ruby, we don't worry about that. We're gonna ignore that for right now, okay? Okay. But, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!